welcome back to another mini episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys talk about movies and pretend we have some authority on them when we really don't. And with me, as always, is the wonderful, the incredible, the invincible, the immortal Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn. And this is a mini episode called What You Watchin', where we talk about stuff we've been recently watching.
Yeah, I stopped even pretending. Do I even know what I'm talking about? Nah.
Nope,
But I love movies.
but we just like to talk about stuff.
Indeed. And we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff we watched recently because due to different things going on, we're recording a little earlier than usual, so it's only been a week. However, I've got a bunch of movies I've watched in the last week, so
You crazy man, you.
we can get a little mini episode out there.
Yeah, so I guess you can go ahead and start because I watched one movie this week.
Well, let's hear what you watched then.
I watched The Dirty Dozen, the classic war movie with Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine, Clint Walker, Telly Savalas, John Cassavetes, Charles Bronson, and an all-star cast with and it holds up really well. It's just a classic war movie. It's kind of the group of it's about a group of prisoners like they in a military prison, and Lee Marvin plays a major. Says, "All right, we're gonna get you out of here, but you got to do a mission for us, and then we'll wipe your slate clean, and you guys can go home." And that's the basic setup. It's like 2.5 hours, but the actual mission is until the last 30 minutes. So most of the movie is just them kind of training and working together. So you really get to know these characters well before they actually do the thing they're supposed to do.
So it's the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, beats it by about 20 years. So.
No, that's a really good movie.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Well, cool. Yeah, that should be definite recommend. That is a classic. We watched here another one we watched with the girls. Popped on Disney Plus and watched Remember the Titans from 2000. Denzel Washington. That one's kind of fun because it's got like actors that weren't big at the time, like young Ryan Gosling, and then there's a Donald Faison and and a few others in there besides Will Patton and Denzel Washington and young Hayden Panettiere or whatever. How I can never pronounce her last name.
Whatever her name is, yeah.
Who went on to do Heroes, the cheerleader in Heroes. But it's a little tidy because it's a Disney movie, but I think it was a good one to deal with those kind of issues to show to younger kids.
Yeah, definitely, because there's can be some pretty grisly stuff in there if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it is a really solid movie too, though. I still really enjoy it.
Let's see, we watched that like every year in school for about 5, maybe 6 or 7 years for like Martin Luther King Day or something.
Ah,
So
yeah, it's a solid movie. It's enjoyable.
I just have absolutely no desire to ever watch it again because I've seen it so many times, and I can tell you beat for beat what happens to it at this point.
I mean, I get that. Sometimes if you're forced to watch a movie a lot, there's a difference between being forced to watch it a lot and just having it be a favorite movie that you watch a lot because you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. Another movie that I watched is my oldest daughter. And this is my oldest daughter. She started watching a movie, and I just kind of got sucked in. It was a Netflix documentary called Behind the Curve, and it was a documentary about flat earthers.
She's pretty sophisticated for watching a documentary about flat earthers.
And I was asking her why she was watching something like this. She's like, because I want to know like why they think this. But so and we're watching it, and it's just weird. All of us, including my daughter, we're just baffled that people can believe the earth is flat. And here's the thing is I don't want to make fun of people for believing what they believe. It's fine. People have crazy theories and all this stuff, but this is one of those that I almost believe is a little dangerous, kind of like anti-vaxxers. No offense to anybody. I don't even know about your position, but sometimes with scientific stuff that's been proven and people want to disprove it just to be the outsider who proved 99% of the world wrong. The flat earthers in this documentary, they talk and they actually proved themselves wrong, but every time they did, they would just say, oh, something went wrong with the experiment, even though they proved exactly what scientists who believe the earth is round say would happen in their experiments. They just wouldn't believe it, even though they proved it too. And you just got to go, they just want to do this just to be different. And except for the way they talk, they really believe it. And the thing is they also talk about how they want this. When is this going to be taught next to in schools, right next to the round earthers? I'm going, I hope never. That's dangerous because I mean, I think it's just dangerous to be that ignorant and think that hundreds of years of proven science is just brainwashing. And basically that's what they say is science is brainwashing. So it was an interesting watch, because the thing is another thing is you don't want to make fun of them because there's a lot of really intelligent people that believe that. So it's really weird, honestly, that so it was an interesting documentary, and it's streaming on Netflix. So, and I probably pissed off all of the flat earthers out there that listen to our podcast, right?
Oh man, I hear they're all around the globe.
But
But yeah, the Earth is round, but the moon landing is fake. Just make sure we got that on record.
well, there you go.
Yep.
At least I, even the moon landing one, I believe we landed on the moon, but
Yes.
I actually can understand, like, to a certain degree, people's arguments against that. The flat earther thing, though, I can't get behind it. I just don't even fathom how you believe that. So, but anyway, moving on. I introduced my wife to one of my favorite buddy cop movies from
Turner
1980.
and Hooch.
Yes, how'd you guess? No, a 1986 film called Running Scared. So no, not the 2000s version with Paul Walker. Running Scared is Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines as two cops. And what I love about this is they have such great chemistry, because you watch the movie and they're terrible cops, but and neither one of them plays the straight man. They both play kind of the goofball, offbeat person, but they have such good chemistry and bounce off of each other so well that this movie is just so much fun to watch. So it's got Joey Pants in it. It's got Jimmy Smits as the bad guy that they're
Nice.
after. It's got Dan Hedaya as their chief. So it's got
Angry
a good.
police chief.
What's that?
Angry police chief.
Yeah, kind of in between. He's kind of borderline angry police chief. I mean,
Oh,
and it's kind of hard not to be when you're Dan Hedaya, because he always looks like he has a permanent scowl on his face. So that's a high recommend, and it's streaming on Vudu. So if anybody wants to see that, I really recommend that film. You'll watch it and go, why did Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines not do more movies together? I really want to know.
I do love me some angry police chief. No matter how bad the movie is, it seems like there's always an angry police chief in one of them.
And you know what?
even,
Dan Hedaya does a good job in this movie. So
even in Samurai Cop, there was an angry police chief.
awesome. All right, so less quality film, but one I super enjoyed. I watched for the first time, and I found this is another one I had to find on YouTube because I couldn't find it anywhere. A 1983 Italian knockoff movie called 2019 After the Fall of New York. And this movie is like half Escape from New York. Well, actually, mostly Escape from New York. About 80% Escape from New York, 30% Children of Men, and 100% Awesome. It's basically the world is, full of radiation, like it happens, and the year's 2019, and it's been like 13 years since the last child was born, because everyone went sterile because of the radiation.
Yep.
Well, New York, of course, was taken over by some group called the Uraks, and it was like Europe, Asia, Africa. I think those were the three continents that kind of formed this giant group, and for some reason took over New York. But then
Yep.
there's another federation or whatever that our hero is from, and he gets sent in by the president because they hear in New York there is one woman who actually is still fertile and can have kids. and she's being held in New York. So he has to go. So they send him into New York to get her and get her back out. So boom, Escape from New York. Only he's rescuing a woman instead of the president. And, and being an Italian knockoff movie, it's got everything. Like I said, it's mostly just a knockoff of Escape from New York, and it's got some Planet of the Apes in there because they run into like these ape-like people, and actually the main guy is this really tall dude who they actually call Big Ape. and the names don't get much better than that because there's also a cave full of little people, and the main guy that they get out of there, the friend that they get out of there, his name is Shorty. So
Should be the other one. It should be the other way around.
um,
Everyone knows if there's a big guy in your group, you call him Tiny.
but yeah, the little guy should have been Big Ape, and the big guy should have been Shorty. But
Everybody knows.
it is such a bizarre movie, and I hope anybody listening realizes I keep saying Italian knockoff film. So it is not by any means a good movie, but if you are into that kind of movie, it is just so bizarre, like you can't get over it. And I loved watching every minute of it. I had so much fun watching this movie.
Nice.
But moving beyond that, though, also with everything that's going on in the world today, I noticed that Prime Video and Vudu are both having free rentals for certain movies, and one of
Nice.
them is Just Mercy. So I watched that the other night, and
I
that
heard
one
really
is
good things about that one.
what's that?
Said I heard some great things about it.
Yeah. Sometimes it is quite long. It's a little over 2 hours, but it is a drama, so I mean that's fine. It can get into made for TV quality, but it's elevated above that with the performances. Michael B. Jordan plays a lawyer who goes down, like right out of school, goes down to Alabama and starts working with death row inmates to try and work their cases and see who he can help there, because some people are and it's mostly about one case. A guy played by Jamie Foxx, who's really great in this movie too, and he gets imprisoned for murder, and it is super obvious that he was not guilty. But with the court system, this was in late 80s Alabama, and so this was like 88 or 89 when he got put in prison. So I mean that's how recent some of this stuff happened. And watching this movie, you can't believe the lawyer goes down there and gathers evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that this guy is innocent, and they still won't give him a retrial. And he has to fight several times, and that's why the movie's so long, because you just keep hitting roadblock after roadblock of racism. And it's kind of a story that makes you sick to your stomach that this happened in my lifetime, and it's terrible, but it's a really great movie to watch. And
I can almost guarantee it's still happening today, unfortunately.
yeah, and that's the thing that's really kind of sickening, is that this kind of stuff does happen, and it's just really disheartening. So, but the movie itself is really great, and like I said, it's elevated because of the performances. You've Michael B. Jordan, and Jamie Foxx, and Brie Larson. So you have Johnny Storm and Electro and Captain Marvel. But yeah, that's a recommendation, and I think that's airing all through June on Amazon Prime and Vudu for free. And I think they're also airing movies like I think you can rent for free like Selma, and there was like 3 others that they put on there. So that would be a recommend though. Check that out before it goes away. And then one final movie to talk about is one that I had never heard of, but it's from a director I really love. On Popcorn Flicks, which is another free service, I watched Inside Moves, directed by Richard Donner. And I'm not sure. Have you heard of this one?
I think it sounds vaguely familiar, but I've never seen it.
Okay, this is really it was kind of good actually. It's John Savage plays this guy who, like, right from the get-go, no spoilers here because the first scene of the movie, he walks up to the top of a building and jumps out a window, and he's committing
And
suicide.
he's Superman.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing that got me watching this. I go, okay, so you have Superman where Lois Lane falls out of a helicopter off the top of a building. You have Lethal Weapon where Mel Gibson jumps off of a building with a suicide guy, with a guy who wants to commit suicide. Then you have Inside Moves, where the opening scene is a guy going and jumping out of a building to commit suicide.
Yeah,
And
but what about the Goonies?
did they jump out? They jumped off of a tall plank on a ship into
We'll
the
count it.
water. I don't know. I got nothing. That's about as far as I got there. But no, so he doesn't successfully commit suicide because otherwise the movie would be over in 30 seconds. But he completely cripples himself. So like he ends up with a leg brace and his neck is all like he's constantly got it like leaning off to the left. He kind of walks with a limp and has like this arch in his back, and so like he's really screwed up his body. And apparently the hospital where he did all of his physical therapy and all that stuff, he lives near it now, and there's a bar that a bunch of crippled people from that hospital go and frequent. So you got like a guy when he walks in there, there's people playing poker. One's blind, one is missing both hands, and one is in a wheelchair. So, and then even the bartender is played by David Morse, who's really good in this film, and he's got like a bum leg. Well, he turns out to be a really good player despite that, and they go to a Golden State Warriors game, and he taunts one of the players, and the player ends up saying, "Oh, come back here tomorrow morning, and I'll play you one on one." So I don't know if that would really happen in real life, but it's about they kind of raise money for him to get a surgery so that he can play basketball for real. And then once he's not crippled anymore, it's really about the way they're treated and who's the real. At the end, it's who's the real cripple, the guy who is kind of a bastard now that he isn't a physical cripple anymore. So it's I thought it was a really good movie. And that, like I said, that's streaming on Popcorn Flicks. So, and it's one I had never heard of before. So that was kind of a interesting find from a director I
Maybe
really
the
like.
most dangerous animal is man.
Yes. So, but that's what I've been watching lately. So, a few recommendations in there and some interesting stuff that, like, I mean, like I said, even one I hadn't heard of that maybe other people have because it's Richard Donner, but I feel like that one's kind of fallen off the radar. So, it's not his best movie by any means, but I thought it was worth a watch. But that's basically what I've been watching in my continued quarantine here. So anyway, I guess we'll end this session a little early and let people know you can find me on Twitter at AwesomeKM
You can find me on Twitter on at NoahTSaturn, SATERN.
and on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. And comment below and let us know what you've been watching recently. Always up for recommendations.
Oh, yeah. What do you think you're going to watch
Till next
next?
time. What's that?
So, what do you think you're going to watch next?
You know what? Let's check on the old list of what I got. You know what? I want to watch soon. Because I haven't ever watched it all the way through. Is I'm gonna try and get Metropolis in. I've been trying to get it in, but it's so long that I have trouble finding a time other than late at night. And I know that it's going to be one that even if I really enjoy it, being a silent movie watching late at night, I'm just gonna crash every time. So
It's not that long. You watched Avengers Endgame in theaters with everybody else.
I know, but that one just had constant, noise and action going. So,
It's not an excuse, my friend.
oh no, I will watch it soon. It may not be on our next What You Watching, but it will be soon.
And if you have to watch it in pieces sometimes, that's okay too.
Oh, and you know what? I don't like watching movies that way, but since I watch most of my movies after everyone in my house is asleep, I tend to sometimes watch part of a movie and then finish it the next night. So if I can get away with not doing that, then I try not to, but especially a little bit longer movies, sometimes that just happens. So what can you
Yep.
do?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, until next time, folks, keep watching.
And keep listening to us.
Indeed.